14th skræða of Óðsmál for bairns. Ignorance gone, Mímir regained. Nasto moha smritir labdaha. We are man trees. Need the gifts of the gods Óður, Hænir, Lóður to rise to that status. Unfortunately, blindness and ignorance has not left all of us. How we regain the memory of who we are, I am not so sure about that. Valkyrjan was born along with man, and serves Óðinn in us to come close to our Glaðheimar, our Ásgarður. Njörður is perhaps the memory of our origin in the seas, Freyja, the mighty creative power, bubbling, swelling, Þrungva. It has taken us millions of years to become breathing men on our earth. We see evolution we already have gone through, but forget to look to the coming. Indeed, we are beautiful and intelligent, know how to use tools. Man, what a species! We have some skills, yes, for example, how we can use the animals and nature. How many points do we get for our performance in that field? Well, that depends on the stage of consciousness of the man who gives points. Could ignorant men do better than Þundar order of nature does? Svá sem þundur reist. If we are going to have a chance to bear the name scientists, we need to do research in consciousness. We know our material world to be mere thoughts consisting of gúmir. That phenomenon can be registered by our devices and the senses. Tívar dwell in everything. Tívar are everywhere. The orderliness of raun, regin, rögg, the order of ginnungagap is everywhere to be found. Even our eyes, by which we perceive worlds, have their own tívar. A man who doesn't know ægir by his own experience understands not. Yestanna Veda Cambridge Karishati, the one who knows not what do the sounds of Veda convey to that man. Ja, itatvitu, he who knows this sphere of life. Ta imesamasete, he knows his serenity, lives and understands it. We are reality. Within, we now shall need to do research. The unified field of total natural law refers only to itself, field of consciousness, from point to eternity, from eternity to a point. Every human individual possesses within unending potential, slumbering, undeveloped, unknown by him. Now we are going to activate these endless possibilities. We nísumst niður. Now we have gotten wise enough to make use of our ancient, ever-young knowledge. Every man, every nation can activate all possibilities. They will be used for all good only. In the perfection of Tívatún, Ragnasjöt, power is only evolutionary. In the wakeful silence which consciousness is, we have unmeasurable dynamism and unbounded silence, only for evolutionary purposes, as Þundur reist fyrir þjóðarök. Here, in the unified field, is what Maharishi calls the constitution of the universe. We who are blessed with a human nervous system and our human brain can easily work by this universal rule and work from the sphere of unlimited opportunities. Here we gain understanding so profound that even our brain needs some time to grasp. I have not yet understood how our mind can talk to our brain on one hand and on the other communicate with consciousness. What a marvel it is, hugi. Brain is that extraordinary organ made of what we call created material, a coarse thing. But consciousness is everywhere at any time, boundless eternity. Actually the smallest of the smallest, very, very fine, so it can be everywhere. Here no causality exists. No real connection is between consciousness and what we create with our thoughts. Does that info explain the case in question or make it more complicated? The further in we go into ourselves, our own consciousness, the clearer we see that all is ourselves. How our world is gúmir. All this is quarks, fleeting, transient hráspil. Man's mind, by its own inborn nature, plunges into ægir as naturally as a stone sinks. On top of that, mind is going home to become uncreated. Here there are no obstacles, nothing to retard, as here all is so fine. The most subtle of subtle. All is everywhere. The way is from me to me. But man's mind, as naturally and effortlessly, returns to the surface after its grand feast at ægis, which is the simplest state of man's awareness, is infinite creativity, thought silenced, no thoughts, all possibilities. Now man has heard hljóð, the sound of heimdallar, and will never become the same again. Here it is fólkið, kept, smriti, sound memory. Here man ræðir við, talks to, means höfuð, the memory of who we are. So we knew all the time. We could have done without millions of lifespans looking for that something which nobody told us what is. We had forgotten where to look until Maharishi pointed that out to us. Knowledge is structured in consciousness. Men are consciousness. Our forefathers knew. Consciousness is awake within itself. Nipple and moospell, silence and dynamism, opposites in themselves, here were together almost in harmony, iðandi, moving, and augment. When man now has blessedly rediscovered that he can do research in the ground state of existence, his own ground state, he will never again forget. Now all bairns learn it. Now Óðinn and Mímir are one. We have regained the memory of who we are. He who remembers is one, and becomes a greater one by recalling all. Before we gained this memory, we were little petty men, unnourished, but now we will be nourished, and we understand all we want to understand. Here Freyja abides, the boiling space-time foam. Here is the way to the meat of Gunnlöð, her kvasir of sounding wisdom for us. Here is no was, nor will be, as time, past, future, is not. Only all known. Easier than reading history, as here is only truth. And we see the context of all and the purpose, the infinite correlation, infinite organizing power, complete self-sufficiency. Do not read history, it contains not truth. We see that Veda is divine power of wisdom, Jnana-Sakti. See the flow of consciousness, Vín Valföðurs, and that we can be powered from this invincibility. The flow becomes action firmly grounded in the oneness, Kriya-Sakti. We perceive the necessity of rulers in the world of men to be enlightened, if they are to rule flawlessly in the flow of Thund. The subjects have to become enlightened as they rule the ruler, as simple as that. So now see our task at hand, to heighten the states of consciousness of nations. We now understand how the pure ones act from all-pervading Tiva tune, how they administer nature, how they govern the world, how they direct the fate of their nation to the best, to perfection. Nature cares for einherjar, who now do not even need wishes nor desire. They work for all men, nature carries out. They show no pride in cups and medals because they didn't do anything. They enlighten their nation, and she will have a noble king of the qualities which she deserves. National consciousness decides his noble actions. Enlightened men are endowed with divine qualities in image of Ginnungagap. They no longer live a personal life. They live universal life, live consciousness. Their thoughts and their words emerge from the abyss spontaneously. Soon we, all of us, shall understand their words. We shall effortlessly live all that Jesus teaches us. Mímir has been regained. We remember who we are. Who we have always been and will always be. Makes no difference if we melt. We do not go anywhere. We do not come either. Independent of all, need nothing. Do not need to pick up. When we die from the body, that is like dhyana, dá, dvínun, fade, like nisa niður. An enlightened man is in Mahasamadhi when he departs from his body. Where would he go? He who is tethered to superficial fun, to his own greed for power, does not see himself, is blinded by his own ignorance. Prashakta clings to matter, hangs himself on a hook of created stuff. He claims to see, but does not see that he sees not. We understand the stages of consciousness through which we have gone, but not those yet to come. We understand only by our own experience of purity. We understand how animals obey their inborn nature. They have no other choice. They do not have the free will that we possess. But what about us ourselves? Are we obeying old habits as if we were a tethered animal? Pashu, fear. The aim of life is ever greater happiness, wider joy, expanding to infinity. The gladdest, glaðheimar. That is man's life in Valhöll, cosmic consciousness. Once found the bliss of glaðheimar, it outshines the little happinesses in life. They become only pretty and sweet. Mother Nature brings all in abundance. Auðumbla sustains all life. Sowest, hnýsist, eat epli iðunnar, transcend to gain immortality. Man will see the treasure of solar sæla, bliss of Goddess Sun, and its worth. We are this bliss. We have come from this bliss. To bliss we re-emerge. Ananda. The bliss gotten, hamið, is hamingja. In pure consciousness, in all-pervading Tiva tune and the Ragnarsjöt, in the unified field of total natural law, Man's life is in accordance and harmony with all. His every act and thought is powerfully creative, in thunder flow with evolution. No mistakes can be. Ginnungagap, the Ginn holy, is the pure knowledge, which rules all in its image. Sounding whole, blossoming expansion of Ymir and Thund, nature and creation of Thrungva. Every man can be invincible, can learn Ljóðin, the good, and 9 galdrar to apply in life. All nations can be invincible. This is what the knowledge is for, meant for all of us. Thank you, Maharishi. We are enlivening all qualities in our universal consciousness. No negativity can thrive. Modern science will now contain this understanding. Man is born to enjoy all the best, a divine being, born as solar Saila Ananda, bliss of Goddess Sun. Tyr in us is a greater power than that of Fenrir, who is simply ignorance. Suffering and ignorance will have a hard life, eventually depart from men and nations who transcend regularly. Gleipnir is theirs. Saila solar, bliss of Goddess Sun, will rule a whole world. We are this bliss. Solar Saila rises in invincible waves on Mother Earth and bathes all outer in her inner divine light. Gideon Mikla, the lamp at the door. Of course, we ourselves, men, make this happen. We of the Solar Saila, we have the knowledge. Mímir has been regained. Our forefathers knew, owned the knowledge. This is tangible science, science of wholeness, supreme science. The unified field upholds the thunder flow of all life, the ever-moving Vigriðarslétta, which consists of transitory, flickering gungnir. In all-pervading Tívarsjöt, Ragnarsjöt, the laws of nature abide. Ginnungagap is their unity. Tívar are in everything, now we find them in everything. What our worldly eyes perceive are waves on the ocean of existence, daughters of Rán, the great goddess of harmonizing accord of Ægir, the abyss. We need to plug them into the memory of who we are. That is Mímir. They are Ægir's abyss. Each wave is the ocean. That is the memory of all. Our human nervous system, Sleipnir, is so highly evolved that it, without stress, can act from sphere of Tívar in the world, perfectly pure. Yogic flying proves the capability of Sleipnir. Perfect correlation in our brain waves when we lift off can be measured. The Maharishi effect is a delightful phenomenon. Effects on the surroundings. Less conflicts, fewer accidents, less war. Our world is changing right now. Modern science explains that human individual consciousness and our awareness is awake on the sphere of infinite correlation. That is, timeless, dynamic sphere of silence, of unbounded dimensions. This is not on the level of feeling, not philosophy, not belief. No, not at all. This is empirical sciences. Creating by thought and desire alone. Using the TM-City technique, we create ripples on level of the Deva, Tívar. Thereby, creative intelligence of Ginnungagap is evoked, provoked on its own level. The motherboard of our universe. Laws of nature in unity, in consciousness. We enliven divine qualities in our world consciousness. That becomes a huge wave. The flying of the yogis proves that we act from a plane deeper than that of the created powers, deeper than gravity and all these worldly powers of the broken symmetry. For fun, we have yogic flying competition. The world record in this kind of traveling is 2 meters forward in each hop, 50 centimeters up in each hop. Standardized thickness of foam. Then a competition 2 meters up, landing on a 2-meter pile of foam. Of course, in the lotus pose. While we have not yet refined the world consciousness to perfect purity, this reminds of chickens hopping. But immense bliss though. By this we are heightening the world consciousness, getting Fenrir into Gleipnir. Then they got the idea to invite trained athletes to a flying competition. They knew not TM, thereby not the flying sutra. But they could practice as they wished, which they of course did. First problem was the lotus pose, that tangling of legs, you know. After the competition, of which we do not talk in consideration for their fame, they learned TM-City and the flying, thereby finding the joy of all sports. Once in a competition, all waited in anticipation for a new world record. The best one was getting ever better day by day. All were hopping except the best one. Everyone expected something grand, but he didn't move, just sat there in deep samadhi. Students in Maharishi school seem to be apt in whatever they go for. All is pure joy and easy. They get lots of prizes and awards. They are completely stressless. Rather, they receive awards because all stress has left them. All men are universal intelligence. What impedes our seeing is stress, filth, our ignorance, blocking our perception of who we really are. But now we have found Mímir. We are about to have what can bear the name scientific age. All men now do research also in consciousness. Best of thanks, Maharishi, for waking us up from our pseudo-waking. When parents learn science of consciousness in schools, they get the intellectual understanding of the fourth stage of consciousness, Turiya Avastaha or Turiya Chetana, which is to hnýsa niður for a little time, Kshanika Dhyana. Take a little trip to Ásgarður, ég gefin sjálfur mér, a trip within human thoughts. Of course they know the three that are not real. Waking, Jagrad Avasta or Jagrad Chetana. Dream sleep, Swapna Avasta or Swapna Chetana. Deep sleep, Sushupti Avasta or Sushupti Chetana, all shut off. Then they can see EEGs of their brain after transcending. That is fun. Research indicates that physical condition coincides with each state of consciousness. Qualities of man's intellect become ever better by practice of transcending. We access our hidden treasures. We might need to know what awaits us. How is enlightenment? What if we went to the doctor complaining of that we have a funny feeling of all things as if they were aloof from ourselves? The doctor might see that as a symptom of something dangerous, would give us an injection to put us right, or find a place for us in the queer department. The doctor might never have learned about who he really is. He might be an educated man with fragmented education only. Gradually, we become more sensitive and perceptive without cherishing expectations. We find power and serenity. That is Ginnungagap Tívatún, our innermost. We find the difference between hljóð, sound, and the gap. Hljóð and words have their origin in the gap. We feel our thought become profound. Our sense is more refined, perceiving the beauty of all. Tíva rúnir, divine secrets, devata, devaguhya, guða rúnir, are there in Ginnungagap, perceived by the most refined men. Deep inside, beyond thought, we remember that we are this, Mímir regained. We will feel in our innermost what creation is, that the unmanifest silence is all there is, not imagined, as that is a thought, but experience beyond thought. Some we see as positive, some as negative. What becomes, what must go. We can now only act in accordance with the Dharma, that which upholds. Experiments of drómi and læðingur are now felt as numbness of ignorant men. Laws of nature shall support law and constitutions of nations with righteousness. Nirvana, nirvata, not windy, logn fara. Hnýsa niður og falla aftur þaðan is the correctly practiced technique to begin with. Leads to the fourth, but not lasting for long, Kshanika Dhyana. Soast into silence, nirvana. Then stress leaves our physiology. By that Sleipnir is teased, our brain starts to think, that which our forefathers term falla aftur þaðan. We fall from there into thoughts. Then we take the next dive, that is hnýsa niður anew, during the practicing. The experience can be measured as the experience of glaðheimar illuminates our body. Gradually, we will start living the dynamism and the silence, along with waking and sleeping. Fimbulrúnir nemast up and gradually become permanent. First time you saw this picture, it was funny, right? Embla, the typical Icelandic girlie, energetically always doing something. Askur, the typical Icelandic lad, who allows the girls to do as they wish, simply cute in their sweet perpetual bossiness and aggression. But now we understand our roots. Without the divine nourishment, we are lítt-megandi, powerless, driftwood. Örlöglaus, have no fate, as is for inert matter. First we saw the surface, of course. Now we see that the roots are in the three wells. Mangi veit, no man knows. From there, the silence and the dynamism come into our life. Joy becomes great bliss. Our understanding has now been deepened. By this hunangsmjöður, honey meat, of knowledge and understanding, of which we shall really get a sip, transcend, we bring purity to our whole world. That is what we are going to do. Gothrun Dimbla, my teacher Maharishi, Indian physicist and enlightened man, points out to us where to find the knowledge and the understanding, and he teaches us the technique to transcend hnýsa niður. Best of thanks, Maharishi, my great teacher. Maharishi asked for this research on our fortness siður to be undertaken. We should look to our own traditions. Jai Gurudev. Maharishi Vaidika Vishwa Prashasanam Vijayate Taram. Worries do not thrive unless thou payest real attention to them. If thou wantest them to grow and sprout, thou must attend to them with sincere care, water them, talk to them, or they will wither, grow weak, and might even die. Their thorns will not become real spikes unless thou takest good care of them, at least twice daily, morning and evening. Thou must be sensitively aware of their presence all day long. Thou hast to wake up during the night and breastfeed them. Nothing sticks. Our cycles are delightful.